Ladies and gentlemen, the Temple of Speed hosts the World Online Racing Tier 4 tonight. And, well, as you can see, we're a few minutes into the session, but I'm here tonight. It's Cockcast. We are back for another race. Another race in WOR and another race in Tier 4. We had a break week last week, but we return. And alongside me tonight is the man who commentated with me last time out in Abu Dhabi. It is Callisto. Good evening. Yeah, because you could make the mistake of seeing Monza as just essentially a few straight lines, but those corners, you really have to get stopped so quickly, especially the one we're watching on board with Sam at the moment, Ascari. That is a corner where lots of drivers, in whatever form, have struggled in the past. And yeah, I guess it's just about balancing the setup, right?
Rear wing. I very much doubt no one will be running like anything remotely even on the front and rear wing. The meta on this game probably is very much higher rear wing, lower higher front wing, lower rear wing, and that is probably going to be extended tonight because you want that front downforce to get the car turned in from the fast chicane of Iscari, the Lesmos, the Parabolica. But you need the top end speed, and without top end speed at Monza, you're not going to be anywhere. So, it'll be interesting to see who's gone highest, who's gone the lowest downforce, who's gone the highest, and who's got it optimum, really.
And I think it's a very difficult balance to gain between whether you go for personal preference or whether you go for track preference. Italy is a very, very interesting track for that sort of scenario because on the one hand, you could go for essentially just what you like, or you could try to suit it to the track a little bit more. And that's where the balance comes for especially the top tier drivers as we're getting towards here, with us only being tier 4 halfway down the console tiers. It'll be a very interesting balance to strike where some drivers will be able and they'll have the quality to drive with a setup that just suits the circuit, but there has to be a sort of sweet spot.
I think in the sense of we're talking about driver preference versus circuit, basically circuit one. In the terms of circuit, this is more circuit based than driver preference because it's not one of those circuits where you can get away with a few clicks here, higher, a few clicks lower. You need it to be more based around a circuit. It'll really show the difference between some of the drivers who tend to do better at lower downforce circuits and who tend to do a lot worse at lower downforce but are more accustomed to the higher downforce sort of circuits. In the sense of like these chicanes, the lower downforce is going to be significantly harder to manage because you've got so many different because these drivers are so used to the higher downforce of these F1 cars. The modern day Formula 1 cars have such amount of high downforce even on the game. So you've got a very different idea of having such low downforce and having to basically drag it through the corners and try and maximise the tyres. And that's another thing. The tyres will have more pressure on them as they go through the corners and get stressed more. So it'd be very difficult for the drivers to deal with that if they're not used to that sort of scenario.
And yeah, it's definitely one of the most difficult circuits for the drivers throughout generally the entire F1 calendar. We're going to watch on board with should we go let's go for Reese as he traverses the Monza track. He's already gone through the first chicane and then come out of a medium speed corner, another chicane just there where I'm sure drivers on lap 1 will try to go side by side, despite the fact that it probably isn't the best idea to do that. But then he's going to come out the two Lesmos, where you just have to keep the minimum speed up. He's going to invalidate his lap, but we're going to keep watching on board just to get a sense of the speed that you can get. I'm going to enable telemetry just momentarily. You can see he's going above 200 miles an hour, and then he has to brake so significantly down to gear 5 for Ascari, where the curbing is so deadly, and that can really ruin your race.
You've got to remember, this is the old track, like, I know, old, it's same layout, but old curbing, old, like, way you drive a circuit, because the curbs are very different, specifically the Ascari, because a lot of flat in real life now, like, as they were as of recently. So while these drivers at the moment would have seen that and seen different lines in real life, they've got to remember in game it's still the same circuit they've been driving for however many years now. It's not much has changed over the years on F1 games from Monza. Apart from maybe the second chicane, that there's a curb on the inside that you've got to be very careful of not get bounced across off on the first part. But it's a very different circuit to what it is in real life. So you can't in Ascari ride those curbs so much as you would be able to in real life.
It's definitely an interesting balance that you have to find. It's definitely a circuit where balance is so crucial, and with the gaps between the drivers at the moment, it's quite a big gap between Oku in first, Knox in second, and Pedro Breton in third. But you just feel as though with the quality these drivers have, you just feel as though any little gain can be huge. And I think the fact that sorry, it's Oksu, isn't it? Because last time he wasn't very happy with me. but yeah, it's one of those circuits that you just, Indian's going to come across the line with a 119.6. Any little gain could bring you so much time in your lap. Pedro Breton is going to come into the pits. He was looking to become the third driver into the 118s. At the moment, Oksu, I'll get used to that, and Knox, and now Sam go into the 118s.
So we might see by the end of this lap, we'll go on board with Kieran for a lap. Go on with Kieran for the lap in the Ferrari. As he heads through turn 1 and 2 and through Curva Grande now, he hasn't set a lap time yet. We're nearly 2/3 of the way through the session now, and not setting a lap time is very crucial here. For us to stick to 1 according to my track map. But he locked up there into the second chicane, and you need a time at this stage, a banker, just so you can get a reference point of what you're doing better and what you're doing worse throughout a lap. He's not really setting like the world of light with certain lines, having lock up here, lock up there, not getting as wide as he should. Kieran, though, 52.6 in the first 2 sectors, cuts perfectly across that Ascari, first part of the Ascari chicane, clips the 2 curves of the second and third part of it as we head down towards the Parabolica, as the Ferrari gets up to about 200 miles an hour, brakes just down to 6th gear, tucks it in to run out wide, and then he backs out as he heads. I think no, he doesn't. I thought that's a very different line to what I was expecting. It looked like he's backing out 19.2 into and puts himself in PA. You don't really see drivers take that sort of line when they go out inside and out and then tuck back in. It's almost like it's the worst sort of line you can really take, because you're not carrying the max amount of speed that you can on exit if you're doing staying to the outside length, tucking in, or tucking in and then going to the outside. You're kind of just making it tight corner for yourself in reality. But he's popped himself in PA, and that's a decent banker though, with just over 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, and it is a competitive time of 119.2, and as you mentioned, the last corner, he could find time in that last corner, maybe in the first sector as well, and he could be on for a strong one. Luca across the line of 119.1. But this was the point that I was demonstrating earlier. Even though they weren't close to each other on the timing boards just yet, you can see them getting closer and closer. Luca slotting in a time in 7th place, Kieran slotting in a time in 9th, and suddenly you've got, well, that is 5 drivers with about a 10th between each other. So that just demonstrates how close everybody is. And it's even to the point with up to Sam and maybe down to Justin, it's, well, there's about 3/10 between them, which is, in essence, nothing.
Yeah, it's like if we've got to really think that this is a very very close tier, and yeah, you got a few tenths between the top few, but you got to bear in mind, like I was saying at the start of the stream, there's a massive differences in the amount of time and gain and loss you can make in the few corners there are here, and it isn't, and it's not like, oh, you go into the first chicane and you lose a bit of time there and that's about it. You lose if you lock up and run wide in the first chicane, then you've got to go around turn 2 at a slower speed, which then compromises your line all the way around Curva Grande and basically ruins sector 1, because they're not going to have the speed all the way down to the second chicane, and it's just a like a snowball effect here. If you make a mistake in one chicane, you then going on to a long straight, and then and that's just going to be continuous loss of time down that straight, because you're not carrying the same speed as if you optimized it. So in reality, that's probably why we're seeing a little bit bigger gaps here, but then between the top few. But then you're also going to be probably seeing very close times because there's so little number of corners here, so there isn't as much chance to make them mistakes.
Yeah, and if you can hook it up, it will really it will blow everyone out of the water, because there are those, any mistake at all could just cost your lap. And David Martinez there running wide, not invalidating somehow, but he's been able to keep it going. He's in 12th place at the moment at 1:19.4. He's improving on that very minorly, 0.05 up as he heads into Ascari. Out of Ascari though, he invalidates his lap, and that's something that's become a common theme with a lot of the drivers, the fact that they're invalidating their laps. And you wouldn't expect that at a circuit like Monza, where it's very open, but some corners like Ascari, like the Lesmos, can just really get you if you carry too much minimum speed in. And I think that's what's tripped over a few drivers. I know I watched Kieran invalidate, David Martinez invalidate. Rosso Bielsalsa is going to come up to the line. This is going to be a competitive time. It's going to be an incredibly competitive time. 1:18.6. He splits the top two. He's on the front row of the grid. And, well, that's come out of pretty much nowhere from Rosso Bielsalsa. He was barely up in the second sector, but he found something in that third sector. Everybody is coming out now for their final runs. Who's your call for pole position? I'm going to throw this open to you, and I'm also going to throw this open to the chat.
I'm not going to jinx the man, but after having Abu Dhabi, where he wasn't here and he's lost his championship lead, he has such a gap over everyone who was setting time when they were setting their times around the same time. He has such a gap over them that I've got, unless someone like Reese, who won last time out in Abu Dhabi, set a good time. Then again, Reese wasn't good at qualifying Abu Dhabi, so I've really got to give it to Oxku here, unless he has really just invalidates this lap and someone has an absolute barn burner of a final lap with track improvement, no less. Got to remember, track improvement is a very crucial thing, especially around a track where there isn't that many corners, so there's less chance for mistakes throughout the lap. So I've got to give Oxku his due here and say he is the most likely man. All right, that's my prediction.
I mean, he's definitely got the pace, and I think the comeback needs to be on, because he missed the last race in Abu Dhabi, and that's lost him a lot of momentum. Manlike, who isn't racing tonight, came in second place. He's only missed the podium once all season. So is Oksu. I will get used to that eventually, but so is Oksu. But he ended up down in 5th place that time where he didn't. The time when he didn't finish on the podium. That time where he missed the race could be absolutely crucial, and that's unless he can hook it up today. Manlike will be devastated that he's unable to race tonight, because this would have been a race where Oksu can really take the opportunity and dominate as much as he can. Reese hasn't said the time. He will be one of the first. He will come across the line to set a 1:19.3. He's right in the middle of the pack. Alex Linares, he's improved. He's on the front row Rosso Bielsalsa will not be improving on his time. Across the line comes V Manbury. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. He is in P10. He's been knocked off. Justin comes across the line into the 118s. But what can Oxu do? He can not improve on his time. He was up in the first two sectors very, very minimally. But then in the end, he didn't improve on his time. Kieran is invalidated. Sam is coming to the pits. This is going to be your grid for console tier 4. And you were right. Oxu went on to take pole position.
What was quite surprising to me there was I was watching on Oxcu's lap, and he didn't improve at all throughout that lap. He was just kind of sitting the exact same time as he did in the first run, his previous run. And like, it was sector 1, he was like 100th down. Sector 2, he was about 100th down. Sector 3, he didn't really gain or lose time. It was just no one else managed to put a better time in than him, and it just kind of everyone fell by the wayside, whether it's invalidations or whether it was just not being able to put a good time in to beat him. But it was credit where credit's due to Oxcu. He absolutely smashed that session. He basically grabbed the ball by the horns, and he's taken pole position by by 600ths of a second.
And Rosso Bielsalsa, who didn't even set a final lap, he was only a 10th off. But you can see, as we look down the grid, Oscu, as it is apparently, took pole position ahead of Alex Linares. Bielsalsa in 3rd, Knox in 4th, Justin in 5th, then it's Pedro Brereton, Sam, Luca, Jake, V Manbury, Kieran, Devect, Yelmer, Reese, David Martinez, Indian, and Demizzi, the final time setter, with McTimmy on the back of the grid. We've only got 18 drivers. We're supposed to have 19. I don't know if you've seen at the bottom of your screens AMS Ward's name come up and then come up again and then come up again. He's struggling to join the session. It may be another no-show from him unintentionally, but somebody really needs to invest in some new equipment for him.
Sorry, I completely blanked everything you just said in that last 30 seconds. I was reading through the chat. I do apologise. I was reading through the tier 4 chat as you were talking, but I'm really excited for this race with how close it ended up being, and it seemed like there was more pace out there.
There's definitely more time to find. I think especially Oscu has time to find, because he was improving on that final lap. I'm going to cut back actually to... What should I cut back to? I'll cut back to the calendar. He was improving on that final lap all the way up to the final sector, where he lost about a 10th, I think it was. So yeah, he was improving, and I think we could be seeing, because he was quite consistent with his pace over, I think he got 3 runs in the end. He was quite consistent, the only real driver who had consistent pace up the top. Alex Linares, to be fair, a little bit, but he wasn't quite as quick on... He wasn't quite as ruthless on the run.
I disagree with you there at all. Alex Linares did make was one of the few drivers who did improve their final run, but he didn't improve it enough. Oscu, his run was his fastest time was his second run. So I don't know if we know this game has significant track improvement. So I don't know if it's just that some people didn't have that sort of pace like Oxcu had. Because Alex, yes, he looks quick, but he don't. But to be to still not be able to beat that time, it's kind of like, where is Oxu's true pace? Where is everyone else's true pace? We know, I know for a fact that we saw last time out in Abu Dhabi, Reese started 11th and he won the race. So he clearly, and again, starts 12th. He clearly doesn't have the qualifying pace. So it'll be interesting to see who has that race pace, or whether Alex Linares has an equal level of Oxu's race pace, or whether someone else manages to come through the field, like Reese, for example. So it'd be interesting to see what changes as we head into race conditions on medium and hard compound tyres. That's another thing with medium and hard compound tyres. You've got to be aware of that and how that affects people's driving styles.
And I think that's the difference at the moment between Osku, Manlike, and the rest of the grid. Pretty much, they all seem to have, or they both seem to have the pace in both sessions, in both the qualifying sessions and the race sessions. We've only got one driver other than those two who's taken pole position, and that's Flexus. He did not take pole position. I'm not 100% sure he's even racing tonight. I don't even think he is. But yeah, so the top two just have pace in qualifying and the race, and that makes the difference. However, a mad race could open up the door for somebody like Reese, as it did in Abu Dhabi. And then that could suddenly swing it in his favour in terms of getting back into the championship. The top three are really the only ones at the moment with any shot. I'll read it out. Manlike 111 points at the top. Osku second with 96. Reese third with 71. And then Ultra is, he's, hang on, let me do the maths in my head. 32 points behind Reese over a race win. So at this point of the season where we're over halfway through, the top three are the ones that are establishing themselves.
I think we should just note as well, it isn't as if those three have run away with it either. Yes, we've had those three as under race winners this season, but Manlike having 3, Oxu having 2, and Reese having 1. But we saw in Abu Dhabi, we have 8 drivers together for a good 10 laps fighting for the win, and that's the crucial thing. Is who can take it. Who has that extra little bit of pace? Who has that extra little bit of racecraft? It's racecraft as well. Is what some of these drivers might be lacking compared to man like Oxford and Reese. Is that strategizing of when to make the overtake? Because if you just make it too quickly, there's no you're going to get overtaken in the next half a lap or so. So really, it depends on how. You need a good racecraft, and that's what the top 3 have shown.
And we're just going to go with, I asked for predictions for the qualifying. Now I'm going to ask for predictions for the big one. Who's going to win the race?
There's not really much I can... he wasn't here last week, and Reese won. But that's actually a point. Oxu wasn't here, and Reese won. Would have Reese won if Oxku was here? That's not putting something down on Reese. Reese did a fantastic job, but his qualifying pace is such a detriment to him, and it clearly shows because his first 4 races he got 5th, 8th, 4th, and 9th. He wasn't even vying for the title. It's like where's he? He's got good pace in race, but if he's got nothing good qualifying, it's very difficult to get up the order if it's not some chaos. So he just basically has to pray for that. But Oxku, he could easily take just run away at the front, and that's where my money goes on. It has to be Oxku. It sounds like a boring choice, but it's a realistic answer here.
I mean, I struggle to disagree with you on that point. I'd love to, but I don't really see an argument for anyone else tonight. I think unless there is a little bit of chaos, which we aren't opposed to either in this tier or around Monza in general. We aren't opposed to a little bit of chaos, and so I think although Osku is the obvious choice, it could really be anyone. It's because one mistake, as we mentioned in qualifying, one mistake could completely change the course of your race. And, well, we're just going to have to wait and see. We could be in for an absolute WOR classic tonight. And we're just waiting to get going. In the meantime, I'm going to run the intermission screen. And when you come back, it'll be time for lights out. it's race time. It's the Monza Grand Prix, or it's the Italian Grand Prix, but there are two technically, so it's the Monza Grand Prix. And we are getting ready for the 5 lights, where we could be in for an absolute classic. There's always drama around Monza, and it just makes it extra special tonight that we've got an Italian on the front row, Alex Linares, who has shown the pace in the qualifying session. He's heading into the race on the front row, but the championship leader, the man who, alongside man like, has dominated this season, Osku, he's on pole, and we've made our predictions. We think Osku is going to win tonight. Domizzi has predicted he's going to win, which is going to be slightly difficult when you're coming from P17. Good news is, by the way, that Wards has been able to join the session. We'll see how long that lasts. But we are momentarily up to 19 drivers. Quite a few of whom, including Osku, the man on pole position, he's on the hards.
It's quite a surprise, to be honest, seeing him on the hards, because you've got to, because you're going to be at the front. Yes, you will hold up. You're going to have such a difficult start, especially when it's a fairly long run. It's not a short run like, say, for Zandvoort. It's a fairly long run, so that's if you get even the first or second phase wrong, you're not going to be dropping in 1 position. You're going to be dropping 2, 3, potentially 4 positions before turn 1. So it's going to be interesting to see whether he can get a decent start, and also you kind of put yourself on the back foot as well, because you're more likely to drop down the order and then end up having to fight your way through. Especially when you're in the pole sitter. It's a very interesting call to start on hards.
Yeah, and I think, well, to be fair, of all the drivers to have the race pace, to pull off the hards, Osku is certainly one of them. But he's the only one in the top 8 starting on the hards. A gamble from the man who could, after tonight, be the championship leader. We'll see an Italian in second place waiting in the wings. Yeah, and we've got BL Salsa as well, who showed pace in the first stint. Didn't actually set a final crucial time. He didn't set a time, but we're going to go to the 5 lights for the Italian Grand Prix. It's lights. And it's action. We're away in Monza. Oksu gets a good start. Alex Linares is covered off. He's moving, though, to the inside line. He's got the track position, but Osku has the outside line, and he looks to grab into turn 1, P1, and out of turn 2. That is indeed the position he takes. It's side by side as they head through. It's action further back as we've got loads of cars inside each other, ghosting as they're trying to make overtakes. They're trying to make moves. Sam gets past Justin. Behind him, they're inside each other as they go through the next corner. But I can't exactly 100% follow this because they are literally inside each other.
I think they left ghosting on accidentally.
That's brilliant.
I'm thinking that's a great start. Yeah.
We could be on for a lobby restart. We might not be, but so
I mean,
far,
I'd be a bit worried if we aren't.
Well, there's a safety car for Kieran.
Somehow.
Kieran possibly. Yeah, Kieran's got no front wing. Everyone's got 10 seconds. Everyone's getting 10-second time penalties. Oscar's retired from the session.
Yeah, we're retiring.
We are going to have.
Oh. Well, we got a good idea of how starts would go before turn 1, basically. Oh.
I deprived you of it last time. I'm going to let you watch a few of the drivers smash into the walls because I think it's fun. It's my favourite part of the broadcast, in my opinion. Alex Linares hasn't noticed. He leads. Rosso Bielsalsa, I think he's noticed, but he doesn't really care. Yelmer's retired. Now we get to see how Alex Linares... No, he's just going to continue on. He's going to take turn 1 as he normally would. He's the only driver left.
Did he not realise?
He's just doing parade laps around one. I think he'll realise... There we go.
Yeah.
So,
he
yeah,
now realises.
That was your Italian Grand Prix, everybody. Thank you very much for watching.
Please don't say that. Please don't leave. Please don't leave. We want people to stay. I love that bit where it's just L crash. It's just
Yeah.
it turns from these drivers who are the hardest racers in the world to open lobby. From like
Essentially, yeah.
just flip of a basically a click of the fingers. It's an open lobby all of a sudden.
It goes from being a WOR race to just being a race of anybody, of any league. I'm just having a look, by the way, at what's going on in the other tiers tonight, because for those of you watching this, you might want to stay updated. Ishmael Fassi leads ahead of Jarno Otmir at Jarno's home race in the Ironman League. And you've got an intermediate race in Tier 3 at the moment. They're on lap 1 at the moment. They remembered to turn collisions on, so Alex Lamas is 7 seconds off. But this is where the real action is going to be, in my opinion.
Oh, definitely. It's the closest tier. One of the closest tiers you'll ever see, really, just pure pace wise. And I think it'll be interesting to see whether, like, our predictions do come true. I don't think Oxley will dominate. I think he will win, if that makes sense. It's more like he's the most well-rounded person here out of all the drivers in the lobby at the moment. And then you got Man Like as well, who's those two are the most well-rounded.
I think something else to note as well is the fact that he is going to start on the hards. I think that's pretty much been defined now, which is a very interesting call considering everybody else around him has started on mediums. Maybe he's going to rejig the strategy when he sees that everybody else starts on the mediums, but that could be where he might go wrong, because the undercut is so strong on pretty much every single F1 game there's ever been. The undercut is incredibly strong. I would always go for the hards, but that's because I know I'm not quick enough and I'm just hoping for a gamble. When you're the championship lead in the championship fight, when you're the man on pole position, it's an interesting call to go onto the hards straight off the bat. But I guess if you're holding out for a late safety car, it does sort of make sense.
Potentially, but you always gonna have more safety cars at the start of the race. So, but it may benefit you later, like with the gap split, the medium runners not using the full extent of their tyres before the pit stop, etc. So, and you being able to run longer on the longer and faster. Well, but you've got to remember, drivers are going to know what tyres each other are starting on, unless they're going to switch it up. The drivers who are behind him are going to think, well, he's starting on hards. If he starts on hards again, why don't we start on hards? So it could easily change up how people think about the strategy in the race. Oxford as well didn't get a bad start. He was side by side into turn 1 as he probably expected, and he kept the lead. So it's not like he's gonna completely dump down the order. Probably cheekily left them off on purpose so he can get a practice start on the hards. But we're not saying anything. But we've got to see what happens now and see if anyone changes up their strategy.
Yeah, which we are just going to wait to go again. Hopefully this should be a little bit quicker than last time, because everyone knows what strategies they're going to pick. They've looked at it, and it's just about applying them and turning them on. But yeah,
And setups.
And setups as well. But hopefully they've got them saved. At this level, I know I can probably get away with it when I'm league racing, and I just literally Google it 5 minutes before. Well, that didn't work for me last week, but at this level, they can't really do that. They'll have fine-tuned the setups to perfection. Just gonna have a watch on the broadcast to see as drivers switch their tires, and watch Osku as, I think it's Otsku. I think it's how it's supposed to be pronounced, because I think he told me that I think he told me that in Australia, but yeah, it's certainly going to be an interesting race. Jake has switched back, Devector switched back. They were both on hards before. There has been no switch from Otsuku yet. So we're going to have to wait and see. Maybe he's applying his setup first. Whatever. Which is fair enough. Or maybe he's listened to the commentators, which, with my track record, is a bad thing to do.
Yeah, if you're going to listen to commentators, at least listen to ones that actually know what they're talking about. Oh, there we go. He's gone back to hards.
He's on the hards. He is.
He hasn't listened to us, so don't worry.
Or maybe he's listened to us both times. Maybe he's gone, yeah, maybe they're right, and then realised the vast experiences we've had, and has decided against it.
Yeah, like we. Oh no, he's gone back to mediums. Okay, never mind. He decided to start mediums.
We're going to go to the 5 lights for the Italian Grand Prix. It's lights. And it's action. We're away once again in Monza, this time for real. Otsuku gets an incredible set-off this time. Alex Linares is blocked off. Behind him, Knox is looking to race him. There's also BL Salsa looking to get involved in the battle. Knox is to the inside of Alex Linares into turn 1. BL Salsa, he looks to get ahead. There's a driver off. I think that's McTimmy in the background. But BL Salsa continuing to try to attack the Aston Martin as they head now into the chicane. The Aston Martin defending the inside line. Alex Linares holds on to P3. But Otsuku holds on to the lead. And he is on those medium compound tyres. Looking for... Oh, what's happened to Knox? I was looking further back. He's lost 2 positions with Alex Linares and Salsa getting past him. So that must have been a little blip, a little moment. And suddenly he's dropped down 2 positions. That's what we were talking about earlier in the broadcast, where we talked about the little mistakes that you can make. Clearly Knox has fallen foul of one of those, and he's 4/10 behind BL Salsa. He's coming under pressure from the Williams of Pedro Breton now. It's a 3-wide moment further back with Sam, Luca, and Justin. Luca gets the edge over Sam, but can't quite keep up with Justin. But it's the end of the first lap of the Italian Grand Prix. Otsuku has pulled out a gap of 1.4 seconds over Alex Linares.
Yeah, what a great start by Otsuku, who just did exactly what he needed to. Didn't get in the fight. Rosso getting up the inside before the breaking point of turn 1 and makes it past the Aston Martin of Alex Linares, and the Red Bull makes his way to P2. And this is exactly what Otsuku wanted. Break the DRS straight away, let the drivers fight. Those medium tyres certainly have helped him in this situation, but also the fighting that happened between Knox and Alex Linares. Go back to the lap. We'll just want to go back to lap 1 quickly at turn 1 chicane. MV Indian and Mick Toomey, I believe, got themselves stuck on each other, so they couldn't really do too much in terms of turning, and they just went straight into the wall. I don't know if either has damage, but we now have DRS. We're going to go back to the battle for P2. Alex Linares down to the inside for Ascari with DRS enabled. He goes into the Ascari now, side by side to the Red Bull, pushes the Red Bull a little bit wide, doesn't have any sort of touch slow, and makes his way back up to P2. 3-second time penalty for the Ferrari of Kieran as we head on through the Ascari chicane. Can Alex Linares break the toe now? He actually won't really get a chance, because you're going to go straight back into this DRS zone, and it's just going to be a snowball effect. If these guys fight too hard, Otsuku is going to really pull away. We head on to lap 3 now. Can Alex Linares defend into the first chicane? I don't think he'll have to do anything, because the Rosso is ahead before the breaking point, and to drop down to P3. The Williams of Pedro is up to P4 now, ahead of ARS Knox in P5. Otsuku 1.3 hasn't really extended the gap. I wonder if he's managing a little bit as well, though.
I think he must be, because all he needs to do is hold away from that DRS, and he's going to be in a supreme position. 1.5 seconds to BL Salsa behind him. The last lap, it jumped between 1.1 seconds and 1.7. It's actually up to 1.7 now, so I think he's just looking to take the advantage through the corners. He's probably put quite a conservative setup on, because you can change it between qualifying and the race. Linares looks to attack Salsa. DRS is going to be his friend in getting past on the back straight. BL Salsa just staying behind Pedro, staying behind all the top 8, actually, staying within touching distance of each other. Sam is the first driver out of the DRS. He's in 9th place. In the end, picking up 3 seconds of time, 3 seconds worth of time penalties, joining Kieran, who now has 6. And rounding the final corner, going on to lap 4 of this Grand Prix, Otsuku continues to lead, and he continues to dominate. What has happened, though, to Reese? Something must have he must have had a moment out of Parabolica. He's not had any damage, but he's dropped so far down the order. He's now down into P17. Bear in mind, well, he started P14, but he'd already made progress. Pedro gets back past Nox. So they must have fought into turn 1. And Nox is looking to fight back. He's got Luca on his rear, ready to pounce if he's not aggressive enough. Luca is going to try and pounce to the outside line, but Nox just drives down the middle of the circuit and defends perfectly. 1.2 seconds is the gap between Otsuku and BL South, so we'll keep you updated on that. But the battle behind is just getting going.
Yeah, it's really heating up now as Nox gets a massive mallow steer on the exit of Les Mode 2. Rosso, though, has a 3-second time penalty for track limits. That is crucial this early on in the race. Yes, other drivers will get track limits, and that's going to be another warning for Rosso as he heads through the chicane. He cuts that bit as well. He's going to start racking up loads of penalties here, and with how close this group is as well, if it stays like this throughout the race, he's going to drop many positions, potentially out of the points if he's not careful. The Red Bull is, while leading this group, kind of, with Otsuku 1.3 ahead, he's going to start to really struggle here. And he's going to outdrive himself even more and potentially get more penalties. Meanwhile, Rosso gets the fastest lap of the race, despite getting a penalty. I'm not sure how that's legal, but we'll continue on. Alex Linares, though, gets past into the first chicane. And this sort of DRS back and forth now, yes, it does help to an extent, but if you're going into the breaking point fighting, you're allowing Otsuku to maintain that gap as we head down towards the second chicane. Pedro has a little look on Rosso, doesn't make anything of it though as we head into the second chicane. I think out of it now, he's going to right on the back now. Sorry, what were you going to say?
That's fine, I thought you were done. That's not in a mean way. Rosso BL Salsa goes off. I think he was just trying to gain that DRS back off Otsuku, and it's not helped him, as now that second moment that he's had dropped him down to 8th place, the bottom of this group, and with a 3-second time penalty and no ERS to his name, that could be pretty much a race ender in terms of his battle for the victory. AMS Wards, in the meantime, by the way, he reconnected before the session. He's in 9th place, which is something special. 1.5 seconds is the gap between Otsuku and Alex Linares as they head on to lap 6. Pedro Breton looks to take the lead of this battle for the first time. Indeed he does. The Williams is up into P2. The rest of them are still staying in formation. There's 8 of them, and somehow nobody's going for a dive yet into turn 1, but I'm sure we'll be seeing that at some point later this afternoon. 2 of them as well, in Luca and Jake, are on the hard compound tyres. So I'd say at the moment they have the advantage. Even though Pedro, Alex and Nox have the track position, Luca and Jake have the opportunity to conserve their tyres, and then in the next few laps, I'd say the mediums are probably peaking in the next few laps, but if they can stay in touch, as Nox becomes the latest driver to pick up a 3-second time penalty in this battle, if they can conserve those tyres, then they will be in for a world of good. Alex Linares gets past Pedro once again, but this DRS chicken is helping, and 1.1 seconds is the gap between Alex and Otsuku. It could even be under 1 second as they head round Parabolica. Otsuku is trying to delay that with all of his might, but he can't quite do it. 9.96 seconds is the gap between Otsuku and Alex Linares. And Alex, he doesn't have the DRS. Oh, yes, he does. Alex does have the DRS. And this could be where they start to reel Otsuku back in.
Certainly, Otsuku, we thought would manage him, but I think this DRS trade is certainly helping each other out here. I say with DRSing off each other as well. I think Alex does have that race pace, so he's kind of dragging a few drivers along here in this pace. Rosso, I think might have been holding up the train as well a little bit, because we saw how much he was pushing, and with that mistake now, he's kind of let Alex go a little bit, and it's now set Alex free a bit after Otsuku. Same with Pedro as well. I just like to make a note on Wards though. He started 19th, 10 positions he's gained since the start of the race, and he's now leading that group. All in that group, he done that as well, trying to get by. So that's a very nice job from that McLaren. while there was these battle for the top 8. There's two very distinct groups now. As I say, that second group is starting to dissipate. But we carry on now with the battle for the lead coming down to just over 2/10 of a second. Alex Linares is right on the back of the Sauber. As we head down towards Parabolica, he's looking left, he's looking right, he's trying to make a move up the inside into Parabolica. Doesn't make anything there as he stays behind the champion, second place man in the championship. The Aston Martin driver goes into the lead as Oxcu comes into the pits, setting that group free. I wonder if Oxcu is going for a very different strategy here of just a significant undercut, because this is a very early time to box.
I thought he was going to come in for a front wing change. He isn't, but it looks like this might be a regulation stop as Oxcu comes in. David Martinez as well comes in. So maybe the lap 8 is where the recommended pit time is for those medium compound tyres. They seem to be all right.
Oh, it's been a massive crash, sorry.
Hits the wall. What happened there with him and Wards? And that's... Well, Wards has barely got a front wing. Vimarandi barely has a front wing as well. I think he was able to keep it mostly intact, but a virtual safety car comes out. And, well, that will be, depending on where Oxcu was, that will be either a blessing or a curse. And it also depends on how long it stays out, because that could hand the opportunity for Alex and Pedro to come into the pits.
I don't know how much of that you saw before the preceding incident, but Justin, who was in that lead group, had spun around. Whether he spun or he got spun, I'm not entirely certain, but he spun around at turn 1, and that caused all bouts of chaos throughout that second group as he spun himself back around, causing his teammate Wards and Meran in the Sauber to collide at turn 3, only a few hundred metres down the road, as they're all trying to scramble with cars ghosting inside each other. But we're going to go green flag once more, and only Rosso is coming into the pits right now, as everyone else stays out. So I wonder if we're having significant undercuts here to try and dissipate the groups and try and get some laps in free air, as we head down through sector 1 now, with the leaders of Alex Linares, Luca in P2, Pedro P3. Alex hit that curb hard though and get a bit onto the grass as we head through the chicane, and that is our top 4 right now, provisionally, for the pit stops all completed.
And we need to wait to see whether these drivers fight as hard as they can, or whether they just lay it off because they know that Oxcu and BL Salsa have triggered the undercut. I know BL Salsa has a penalty, but he could still be in this fight, depending on how quick. Well, the overcut runners are probably going to be behind them on track anyway. But, yeah, well, Alex Linares, Luca, Pedro Breton, and Jake all need to work together in order to stay ahead. Are any of them going to come into the pits this lap? No, they're not. I don't imagine we're going to see Luca and Jake into the pits for a very long time. So they're going to have to get used to the sight of each other. Luca, though, looking to the outside of Alex Linares. He takes the lead of this race with the DRS. There's yellow flags out. Sam... It's not to do with Sam. I thought it was because he suddenly dropped positions. It could have been to do with Wards, as there was a yellow flag out in his segment of the racetrack. But no matter, because whoever it was is able to get going again.
It was Wards, just so you know. And he's got a 3-second time penalty now. So his race, after a very good start, has completely gone down the toilet now. He had damage, and he's down the back of the grid now by 7 seconds with a 3-second time penalty. The Clown's Day, he's getting from bad to worse. And very surprised he still managed to get this far in a race, considering how much he struggled to get into the session. But anyway, he's retired now. He's done 10 laps in, and after that amount of frustration, he drove well, and it just all came about one incident and just went from bad to worse. Luca now leads the way though. Alex in P2 with Pedro coming back at him in P3. Pedro and Alex on the same tyres of mediums. Luca and Jake on the hards as we head down towards the end of lap 10. DRS will be for all 4 drivers involved. Actually, no. Jake's dropped out of DRS, so it's just second and third for Alex and Pedro. As we head into turn one, Alex has a little look though, but he doesn't make any sort of move. He sticks behind the Alpine for a little bit as we head down towards Curva Grande. Does Alex do anything, or does he just sit behind and wait? Let the harder compound tyres, which will certainly be performing better now, just drag him along. Not really try and hold up the group and try and get ahead, or at least as very close to Oxco as possible if he's behind.
Otsko as well, in the meantime, setting fast lap of the Grand Prix. Rosso Bielsalsa staying with him in 11th place. Just to give you an update on those two, the next driver up the road for them is Demizzi. Well, it's Demizzi and Indien, who are 5 seconds up the road, and I presume they're going to catch them in the next couple of laps. Reese gets past Jelmer, just to give a focus on some of the other drivers in this race, including the Aston Martin of Linares' teammate, Reese, who goes up to P6. He's not coming to the pits yet. It just seems like they came in very early, did Otsko, David Martinez, and, well, Justin Vimarambi sort of had to come into the pits. What's happened to Indien, though? There's a full course safety car, as it looks like Indien's crashed in Ascari. So, boy, he's despawned now, so we couldn't see the extent of the damage. But this is a blessing for Pedro and for Alex. Luca and Jake stayed out, as probably to be expected, because they're still on those hard compound tyres. They could have gone for a gamble, but instead they stay out, which could be seen as a gamble in itself. Alex and Pedro now will come out in P3 and P4. Otsko is in P5 behind them. So the top 6 are the 6 of the top ones from that first 8 group. And suddenly this race swings in Alex and Pedro's favour.
Yeah, certainly here. I think if Luca and Jake, if they were to pit in now, those mediums, yes, by the end of the race would be quite worn. They probably managed to, but I think pitting a lap later benefits them a little bit because they already passed the safety car. So if anything, they can just go around for another lap and not have to worry about an extra percentage of tyre wear, even if it's 1 or 2%. It's every percentage counts when you're going longer on the mediums than you should be. So I wonder if they're going to pit here, because if not, they're going to end up in a really bad situation when it comes to the hards later on. So, sorry, not hards, the mediums later on, when they've got to try and get back through the field and have to regain 20 seconds worth of time. Yet they're both coming into the pits for a new set of mediums. So they'll have to do 15 laps, but a few of them will be under safety car, if anything. So we'll see where the Alpine and Ferrari end up now. But the biggest benefactors from this are Alex and Pedro. Oxco was trying to do a big undercut to try and benefit him his race and try and get a few seconds ahead. But his tyres will certainly be feeling the effects by the end of it, and will now drop behind into P5 after leading this race from the early first 8 or 9 laps. Is down in P5 after all this 8 pit stops are done.
I think that a few of them will be waiting for another safety car, wherever that comes from. We've still got 17 drivers in the race, so anything is possible. Kieran comes into the pits to get rid of those 3-lap-old hards. And presumably a front wing change, because 3-lap-old hards is a weird... I think that actually might have been to serve a penalty from the looks of things, yeah. But Alex and Pedro, the top 2 drivers, they are ready to go to the end of the race. Luca and Jake, 3rd and 4th, probably not able to. Otsko and Bielsalsa, it will definitely be a stretch if they're able to. David Martinez as well in the meantime. That undercut has definitely worked for him as he's climbed up. He started this race in P15. He's up into P7. So a great start. A great race so far from his perspective. But another safety car would be beneficial for everybody between 3rd and 7th. If there isn't another safety car, it plays right into the hands of Alex Linares and Pedro Breton, whose new hard compound tyres could pay dividends in what's happening in this race. We're waiting for the rest of the drivers to catch up. That includes a few drivers included in incidents. So, for example, Vimaranvi and McTimmy and Justin as well, who have been involved in incidents at various different points of this race, they are able to suddenly light back up. So now all 17 drivers are back in this race. Before it was 8, and then it was 6, and now we're back up to 17.
Yeah, so all of a sudden everyone's race comes back alive once more. But the good thing for Luca and Jake here, they're on softer compound tyres compared to the drivers around them, so they will have the benefactor of initial starting speed. And the mediums can go fairly long here, but the pace isn't strongest in the later stages. So I don't think they're too worried about the extent of their going to the end. I think it's their pace from now to the end is the biggest worry compared to the hard runners. The hard runners in the latter stages of the race will certainly come into their own as the hards just don't die off in around some tracks, particularly this one. I don't think there isn't a major die-off period for them in 50% races. So, Alex Linares and Pedro very likely to win, but they're going to have to deal with potentially Luca and Jake getting past, and then later on in the race having to get past both them drivers. Oxcu on the old Oxcu, Rosso and David on the older hards are going to struggle now because they've got drivers behind them with younger tyres, and now they've got to try and hold them off and try and make positions. But safety cars in this lap, and we're going to go racing again.
Alex Linares is going to lead us away for this safety car restart, just slowing everybody down. We're all weaving left, right and centre down the back straight and getting ready to set off again. Actually, for some interesting reason, there's contact between Sam and Justin. Sam will pick up 10 seconds worth of penalties for his troubles. There was a bit of a gap between Linares, Breton, and then Luca behind. There isn't any more. Alex takes us back to green flag racing, and he takes us back in style. Pedro is the only driver really able to hang with them. Luca is sort of trying to stay within range as well. He's able to with that straight line speed he's got, and he's to the inside of Pedro, picking up a 3-second time penalty for running off the circuit in turn 1. But he's got that crucial position, that track position, and he holds onto it on the exit. Jake as well, looking to get past. This is where the medium runners have to take their advantage, because they won't have that advantage for much longer, which means they're going to have to send it a little bit more. Well, that's why Luca won't care about that 3-second time penalty, because it's just about the pace that he's able to demonstrate. Pedro still trying to hold on to the coattails of Luca, and it looks like he's going to be successful. Everyone follows through in formation, but this just breeds an even more interesting race. Luca and Jake demonstrating the pace that they needed to off that safety car restart.
Yeah, certainly. Luca, though, well, probably not worrying about it now. And I wouldn't let it, and if you're a cool-headed and intelligent driver, you wouldn't let any sort of penalty get in your head too much, because otherwise it'll cause you to make mistakes and also cause you to drive the car. As you've seen early on in the race, that happening with Rosso. So it'll be interesting to see whether Luca manages to keep that cool head as we head down towards turn 1. Can the Alpine make the move for the lead as he dives it down the inside into turn 1? Very nice job by the Alpine as he keeps it all clean and loses as little time as possible into that chicane against Alex. And he's now got to try and drive away as quickly as possible before we get to just before Lesmo 2 for the DRS detection. He's going to lock up though into the second chicane. We're going to have all the drivers though follow suit as we head with Luca, Alex, Pedro right behind each other, behind Alex as we head into Lesmo 2. Can the Williams make himself a problem for the Aston Martin as we head down towards Ascari? He's very much closer than what Alex would be liking, but Alex is very close all of a sudden to Luca with that helping of DRS as we head through the Ascari chicane. We've got 6 drivers within this DRS train first. Who is going to come out on top?
I mean, at the moment, Luca's demonstrating the pace and the guts. That was an incredible move heading into turn 1. And out of the exit of the final corner. DRS will be available for Alex Linares. He's going to try to fight back. He will have, though, Pedro and Jake on his rear. Otsuku as well inviting himself in this battle. Alex taking the lead of this race. Luca could drop another position as Pedro heads to the inside line for turn 1, but a wobble from Alex sees Luca retake the lead of the race in an absolutely crucial moment, because now he's got that mental advantage over the Aston Martin. Pedro trying to defend from Otsuku in the meantime for that P3 spot. Jake just hasn't shown the pace that the mediums has been deserving of so far since the safety car restart. He's not been able to make a move on Pedro, and now he's even dropped behind Otsuku. There's yellow flags out. That's David Martinez who's gone round, which is a shame because that strategy has really played into his favour. Alex finally takes the lead of the race. Pedro isn't quite close enough to get through on Luca, but these top 6 are developing once again, and interestingly enough, it's the same group of people.
Yeah, it just shows there's a bit of a gap in performance in this race. He's not always the same sort of people, as we see Otsu and Jake going to go side by side. Jake trying to make the move back for P5 on the Sauber as he heads round the outside of Parabolica. Very bold to do it on the outside there. He tried to get the move done, couldn't make it stick, but they're going to both have DRS now as this train continues on. The Red Bull has to dart out of the slipstream of the Ferrari as he tried to make the move. They're going to go up the inside. Otsuku very late on the brakes. Pedro almost goes into Pedro. Pedro very self-aware there though, and manages to avoid the Sauber and doesn't lose too much in the grand scheme of things. Jake and Rosso though going to continue on now as Rosso heads around the outside and makes it stick for P5 on the Ferrari as we head into sector 2. But this is all allowed the rest of the group to catch back up and get back into DRS, and it's Jelma and Knox are back within this group once more. As we go down towards the Ascara chicane, does Luca manage to make a move on Alex as we head into it? No, he doesn't. He backs out and continues on as they continue line astern through and up towards the Parabolica.
And Luca's staying close, and I think Otsuku as well. He's demonstrating that the tyres aren't mattering as much as you'd expect them to at this point in time. He's got 4 lap holder hards, but a few of those laps were done under the safety car for both Otsuku and the drivers in front, which it's important because Otsuku will have pushed them straight off. He knew he had to go quickly. Jelma is pushing as he sets the fastest lap of the race. Luca retakes the lead. Who's that pulling out further behind? That looks like it's Reese on Knox. There's contact between the two. Around goes Reese, and he's going to have to rebuild once again from the back of the grid. McTimmy is going to overtake him into P15, and I'm sure that's going to be rapturous celebrations in the McTimmy household. Devect in the meantime getting past V Moran V into P9. Let's get a penalty update, shall we? Luca with 3 seconds. Rosso Bielsalsa with 6. Knox and Devect both with 3. Kieran with 9. Sam with 10. Demizzi with 7. And Justin now with 3. But everybody is within DRS range of each other. The only drivers on the grid without the DRS is McTimmy. And now, well, now it's Luca, who's been passed by Alex Linares and Pedro Breton. He's down into P3. And they're just going to keep swapping positions. The top 3 are playing this very, very smartly. Everybody else, maybe not so much. And I think Luca and Otsuku, 3rd and 4th, they're in a decent position. Luca just needs to manage these tyres, stop fighting. Otsuku just needs to stay within range. Pedro retakes the lead of this race. They just both need to watch for their own good. But Otsuku says, screw that. He's going to go to the inside of Luca. Massive cooking of the tyres on the exit. And he's inside Rosso Bielsalsa as they head through the Curva Grande. Rosso Bielsalsa, though, with the straight line speed, just gets ahead of the Sauber. Alex Linares may have looked to the inside there. He didn't make the move, but DRS has been broken once again to 7th and below. And never mind, because they're back in it. Alex Linares gets past Pedro. DRS chicken is being played once again, and Pedro is the victor of this game. He's going to get the DRS. And if he can hook this back up, it's P1 again for him. We're heading on, well, we're through the 20th lap of this race. We've got 7 to go and a winner still to be decided.
What I'd like to challenge the DRS chicken is who pulls the trigger first on. That's it. No more chicken. Just all out fighting. And we're going to start to see people get desperate, especially lower down in the group, because they're going to start thinking, well, we have this many laps left, and I don't think I'm going to make it. If it goes any lower, if I don't make any positions now, so people are going to start getting desperate and try to fight each other harder. As we get later and later in the race, rather than just being DRS chicken. Alex Linares, though, going to the outside and takes P1 away from Pedro. Luca continues to try and climb up the order and gets into P2. Rosso's round. I think he got tagged by Oxco, and he's completely gone round, and that's thrown him right out of contention and down the order. Unfortunately for him, he's down in P14 and down with McTimmy to join his little battle in the Wooden Spoon. As we continue on now, Alex has an 8/10 gap to the Alpine, as this could be the moment where he tries to brake, because Pedro is not going to let Luca keep P2 for much longer. As we head down towards the Ascari chicane, can Pedro get by, or will he stick behind him as we head into Ascari? And no, and they've got it all called back up to Alex, and just in the nick of time before they started to Alex started to pull away with a few laps to go. These drivers really got to start thinking where they want to position their car and what position they want to be in heading on to that final lap. 3-second time penalty had shown up for Kieran there. He's down in P10 in a massive group of penalties, so that's going to be sorted out later on. As it's Yelma, he's gone round at the final corner and he's dropped down to the back of the grid, and that is very unfortunate for the Mercedes driver. Alex defending nicely as Luca sits behind in P2. We're going to see Davek and Kieran now going side by side and off track. They go. 10-second time penalty for Kieran. I wonder if there was contact. I don't know if Davek got one as well. As yes, he has. They've both got 10 seconds now, and this has completely thrown their race out the window, because they're now going to go side by side. Kieran nagging against the RB and taken out Morani in the Sauber in the process, and I think that was just purely out of frustration by Ferrari.
I think we might be seeing post-race quite a few penalties being applied to Kieran for that incident, because I did watch the majority of it and it looked a little bit dodgy from the Ferrari's perspective, but 22 seconds worth of penalties, he won't care about any more individual penalties too much. He's just here for the fighting, and he's going to continue to fight as much as he possibly can, closing in on Demizzi into the final corner. Demizzi's not going to give this position up without a fight. He might even fight Sam, and Kieran just sticking behind. Little tag on the rear of the Red Bull, so that pretty much spells that battle over. Jake has gotten past Otsku in the meantime. Otsku with the DRS not getting quite close enough. Lucas sending it to the inside of turn 1. Alex trying to fight back, but Lucas still has that grip. Those medium tyres are still working for the Alpine, and he's very much playing beneficiary at the moment as he retakes the lead of the race.
Yeah, at the moment, Luca needs to... He's still got a 3-second looming over his head. That'll currently drop him down to P5, and that is not what you want to be hearing if the Alpine. You're going to really want to hope the drivers by and just fight heavily with the lap counter ticking down. It's just looking less and less likely that he's going to take this victory, as we're now going to go into Ascari. They all keep it nice and calm through there as we go actually to see a battle between Rosso and Sam. As Sam gets past Rosso, I believe, or sorry, Rosso tried to get past Sam and he didn't make anything stick. But them two still going at it. That field behind though really starting to dissipate. Meanwhile, the battle for the lead continues to rage on. Sam again going around the outside of Davek and makes that move stick. A very nice job from the Haas. I don't know if Davek has any sort of damage from his fights with Kieran, but that is going to go 4 wide actually, down towards the first chicane. Can he have happened there. Rosso makes it stick on direct and keeps the position. And Kieran goes up to P8 in the end. And those drivers who are fighting basically for their lives with the penalties, trying to maximise what they can. It's getting very, very feisty out there. Meanwhile, Luca has dropped to P5. I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure if you saw, but Luca's dropped down to P5 after leading, heading into Ascari.
I didn't see what happened, but he must have made a mistake because Jake's out of the DRS, or pretty much out of the DRS, of Pedro and Alex now. So there must have been something that held them up. And Luca almost losing it into the Ascari chicane, doing well to keep it in that straight line. But at this point, it could be between the top two, Pedro and Alex, for the lead and for the victory here. But Kieran Nag has just made me eat my words for not the first time this week, as a safety car is out on the 24th of 27 laps. Jake missed the mark. He will stay out on those mediums. Pedro comes in. Alex, everyone else is going to come in. V Moranvi isn't. He's going to stay out. McTimmy's going to stay out. What's Jan going to do? He's in last. He is going to come in. So Jake, V Moranvi, and McTimmy are the only drivers left on non-soft tyres, really. And, well, this is going to be interesting. We will get one lap of racing. That is what we have been prescribed. We're going to get one lap of racing where Jake, V Moranvi, and McTimmy are going to try to hold on to their old tyres, with Pedro Breton leading the pack with brand new softs.
I'd just like to quickly say, I wonder if Jake knew he could get past the safety car before the safety car came out past the pit exit line, because he's managed to skip the safety car and he's now got a completely clean air in terms of when he comes into the pit. If he comes into the pits this lap, gets some softs on, he won't be held up by anyone, unlike certain drivers behind. So potentially around him. So potentially, I'm not sure, he might come out in the lead if his luck so does him. So he'll have to see. Does he come into the pits this lap? No, he doesn't. He stays out. That's interesting, because I'd have sworn it might have been more beneficial to come into the pits then, because those mediums are going to be absolutely nowhere. Yes, he's going to have two drivers behind who are staying out, but it's going to be very difficult to keep them behind.
Sam, if you're watching the stream, how on earth did you just pick up a 20-second time penalty for speeding under the safety car? How quick were you going, out of interest? But yeah,
I think that's because they can't give drive-throughs, so they just give it 20 seconds.
That's true, actually. Yeah, I think you might be right on that one. But well, I think depending on how quickly everyone catches up this lap, we could be seeing the top three with a huge advantage where not everybody might have caught up. I think they will by the end of the lap, but for a moment it looked like Jake could get a huge advantage. I think we're going to see a couple of drivers missing out because of this safety car, because of the fact that it won't let everybody catch up to Vecht, Sam, and Yelmer in particular. But we have one more lap of running, and yeah, we will have one more lap of running. The safety car is going to be in this lap. Bert Mylander is going to drive off for the final time in this race, and Jake is going to lead us away. That's 3 seconds of time penalty, by the way, for Justin. 3 more seconds for Knox. So everybody from P8 to P13 all have penalties, but it doesn't matter because nobody from BL Salsa downwards is going to be involved in the last lap of this race. BL Salsa possibly, but everybody behind him definitely not. Demizzi picks up 3 seconds as they're all trying to catch up to the group, led by Jake. And Jake will set us off for the final time, for the final lap in this race. And it's go, go, go across the line. Jake takes us back to green flag racing. V Moranvi is unable to stay within the same range, but McTimmy, he's bearing down on V Moranvi. He's to the inside of turn 1. He's going to get the move done. and he's going to push Vimaranvi wide. There's Pedro Breton trying to force his way through. He might get through on McTimmy as well. They're side by side as they head down. It's almost 3 wide, and that's Alex Linares who's spun round and he's taken out both of the Kick Saubers. He just dipped a tyre onto the grass, and both of the Kick Saubers, they've just lost their race essentially, as has Alex Linares. But Pedro Breton's still fighting for these moves. Lucas sends it down the inside. Knox forces his way through as well. So does Rosso Bielsalsa. That's a retirement from Yelmer in the pit lane, but it's not going to affect anybody further up. It's PGR Justin trying to attack McTimmy. He was in P2 in turn 1. He could be in P7 as late as the Ascari chicane. He's not going to get as that low. But Jake, for him, the gamble could have paid off. We're going to watch on board with Pedro Breton with his final opportunity to take the lead of the race. But Jake's setup, Jake's straight line speed is going to be too much. Contact between himself and the Williams, which somehow brings the victory for Jake. He's going to take victory here in Italy. Pedro comes second, Luca in third. He's going to drop down because of the penalty. McTimmy picks up a podium. The gamble pays off for McTimmy and for Jake. McTimmy's been nowhere all race. Somehow he picks up a podium. That was not the ending that I was expecting.
Yeah, certainly not. I noticed what Jake was doing. You see, normally what people do is slow up the pack and get weave. He made sure he was as close as the game allowed him to be to the safety car as it was coming into the pits. So then he was so he didn't have as many drivers behind him, and he got to spread out the gaps as much as he possibly could. That was an amazing drive by the Ferrari in that final lap. He almost got spun round by a much fresher tired Williams behind him. That was racing incident, but he managed to hold that on old tyres. Very nice job by the Ferrari. I'm thoroughly impressed. But you've got to feel for the Saubers there, who just especially Oxco, who got caught up in that incident and has now of a race where his championship rival is not here, scored only a few points.
And yeah, that's pretty much swung it. That lap has pretty much swung the championship into Manlike's favour once again. We all thought that Otsku was going to catch up, maybe even overtake the Williams driver. But suddenly, it's not looking so sure. We are going to have to see because there will be lots of reports within the week. But as of now, who is your driver of the day?
It's very tough, Cole. Just for that, Jake did a phenomenal job there in that final lap to manage what he did. It was he took the gamble on those old tyres, which I was calling for him to come into the pits, to be honest. And he took that gamble, and that which meant that he was leading the race, and he wasn't caught up in all the chaos in that final lap. Potentially, that foresight was what gave him that victory. But I'd have to say it must be Jake. He's done so well. He didn't really put a foot wrong in terms of no penalties, and he just it was there or thereabouts all race, and he didn't really lose out at any point.
Yeah, because even though he didn't have the outright pace, he was losing that DRS range early on. Just that gamble was so huge in that victory today, I think, and that was just an incredible. It was an incredible gamble that paid off for the Ferrari, and it's a fully deserved victory for Jake. It's his first victory. It's his second podium of the season, and it's almost double his points tally. Going up above a bunch of drivers. I think he might even take the lead of that chasing pack now, heading up to P4. So yeah, a good result from Jake. But thank you very much for watching this race. We hope you've enjoyed the broadcast as much as we have. And we hope you enjoyed that final lap as much as we did. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again next time. What race is it next week? Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the calendar.
Bahrain.
Hang on. It's going to be Bahrain for next week. I will not be around. Hopefully, hopefully we're going to get your regular commentator back. We haven't seen him in a while, but Simlast should be back soon. But yeah, we hope you enjoyed today. We hope you enjoy the next race and the rest of the season. Thank you very much for watching. And for now, it is goodbye.